Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. So we had our dreaded people in the hospital industry would know our dreaded Q3 year Joint Commission survey last week. They actually showed up on a holiday, which we were not expecting. It wasn't a holiday we celebrate, but Veterans Day last week is when they showed up.
Okay.
And that can get annoying. It's just a big regulatory survey, so they go through and you basically spend all week, walking around with surveyors and showing them closed charts and going through all the stuff that they tell you what you did or did not do. So good purpose to the survey, but it's really stressful, like when you're working it.
Yeah.
One thing that was fascinating though is one of the sessions they did what they called a non-scoring session, and the lead surveyor was a emergency department physician for 30 years. Then he started working for the emergency preparedness division. He was emergency department physician in downtown New York City. And then he was on their emergency preparedness committee preparing for like natural disasters and things like that. And, things like after 9/11 and all that stuff. And so a huge knowledge base for emergency preparedness stuff, which is a huge passion of mine. And he did a non-scoring session with us where it was supposed to be 2 hours of he gives us some examples from his career. We give him some examples of what we're doing. We ask questions. He tries to offer advice for like best practices and things that we could change or things we could implement. And he would take things that we do that were like maybe like new and exciting to him, and he would take them back to see if they could be streamlined anymore, if they were like really good ideas and all. Turned into an hour and 45 minutes of him just telling us, basically praising all the work that he's done, which was fascinating, but it was not what it was supposed to be. And only like 15 minutes of us getting to ask any questions, and I'm the only one who actually asked any question and gave like a really random like circular answer that everybody was kind of like, huh, like what, that didn't answer the question at all type of deal. But one of the most interesting concepts is, think of this: hospitals in New York apparently have and all hospitals have to have a plan for this, but he was very intrigued by the concept of hospital evacuation as opposed to mass casualty incidents, because every hospital every year has to do a mass casualty incident drill. So if we have another 9/11 and you get a huge influx of patients for whatever reason, like what's your response?
Right.
He's a lot more interested because he thinks so many more hospitals are less prepared for it. What do you do if you have to do a mass evacuation from your hospital for whatever reason?
Yeah.
And think, if you have to evacuate your hospital, let's say, like I have to evacuate my hospital because we're out of power, something happens to our power, we get cut off from the grid. Well, you can possibly start utilizing the local hospitals in the area. But if you're being evacuated for another reason, such as like there's a hurricane coming through, you can't just evacuate people to the hospital next door because they're evacuating for the exact same reasons,
Right.
So he's talking about the plans with this, and I guess when he was up in New York, there was a time, twice, where they evacuated hospitals when he was being the emergency preparedness person for them. One thing I'd never thought of, they had to plan for, because it happened, people refusing to leave a hospital during an evacuation. Patients who refuse to leave and be evacuated.
Can't
Do you ever thought? Would you ever thought of that as a concern?
Well, I mean, yes, because I mean, I wouldn't have, if you hadn't asked me this, but once you say it, I can totally 1000% understand that, because I've seen how stubborn some people can be, especially, in the hospital or whatever, and they get scared, they don't want to leave where they think they're safe and all this, or they're already frustrated at the hospital, and I could see a million reasons why someone would not want to be evacuated from a hospital. Where are you even taking them?
So what they were doing, I'm trying to think of where they went, because the one major evacuation that he had to deal with was not like there was a couple. I guess there was one that there was a hurricane coming through New York where they did evacuate a lot of the hospitals, and the hurricane ended up not coming down. I can't remember if it was Irene or it was one of the major hurricanes in the last 10 years. They evacuated a bunch of hospitals and nothing ever happened. And the last one, that was like 5 years ago, apparently they evacuated one of the major hospitals, or they didn't evacuate one of the major hospitals, and they actually did get hit. It was a big like problem. But whatever scenario he was telling us about for one of them was actually a specific hospital had a problem where I don't remember if it was like noxious gas was leaking somewhere and they couldn't contain it and they had to like evacuate. But it wasn't to the point where everybody inside was dying yet, but they had to get them out before it leaked into the hospital type of deal. So it was just one facility. So they were evacuating them to relatively close facilities. But the problem that comes with this stuff is, what do you do if somebody refuses to evacuate?
I mean, you force them, right?
Police will not get involved.
Really?
To escort somebody off of a hospital because it is illegal and against EMTALA laws and things like that to take somebody away from a designated hospital space where they can get care, to basically kick them out on the curb.
Huh. Well, what do you do?
So you know
What's
what?
the answer?
You know what they? You know, this is the fascinating part to me. So apparently, the city of New York. Then this is only about New York because he said he was talking about doesn't know DC, like, so he couldn't relate it to what we do or how they would act in that case. But New York, what they did was to evacuate a hospital, they just revoke the hospital's license.
Huh.
So they
then what does the
basically
patient do?
force an evacuation by saying you are no longer a licensed hospital. You need to get everybody out. Oh, we haven't slept in a while. And
It's at nighttime.
and there's phantoms. And now the police will get involved because you're trespassing.
Huh. Wow.
And I thought that was
That's pretty crazy.
insane. Like, I've never thought of something like that.
I mean, that had to
before.
be something that took a little time, though. That's not like something you do in 5 minutes.
I think what it is they, to do these evacuations, what they did was they revoked the hospital's license.
But how long did it take before they could do that? Like, how quick is that process?
I don't know. I mean, it's immediate to revoke it. The question is, what else? What other plans? Because is it really fair to revoke the hospital license? Then you have to stop caring for patients in any way until you evacuate them. I'm sure that's not the case. He was also talking about there being 4 major incidents and things like that happen. There's waivers that you can apply for after the fact. It's because in major incidents or some type of major emergency, you're not going to be able to conform to the standards you need to conform to of like HIPAA compliance and things like that.
Uh-huh.
You can apply for waivers after the fact just to say like, hey, you see, so the CMS, Medicare and Medicaid will still pay me because even though I didn't meet the regulatory requirements for payment because I'm not HIPAA compliant, that there's still ways to get paid for that stuff because of the nature of the incident it is. It's really fascinating things that are put into play. And then there's even 10 times more morbid things where he started talking about there's a national stockpile of, ventilators and IV pumps and things like that for the hospitals that don't have enough in a massive scenario of like a 9/11 type of incident again.
Yeah.
But apparently one of the problems that they realized is they have 25,000 ventilators in this stockpile, and there's national strategic stockpiles like apparently located around the nation, so they can be deployed to geographical areas. It's not just all like in
Right.
center of the United States, and everything has to go from there. So they realized though they have all these like ventilators, but they don't have enough trained people, and there's not enough trained people that they could just influx and be like, okay, there's enough respiratory therapists now to run all the ventilators. So this national stockpile is apparently not working to the point that it should because they have the equipment but not people to run the equipment. And I guess there's been these weird cases before where physicians have tried to make a determination that this person is on a ventilator and the likelihood of their survival is so low, we should extubate them to get that ventilator and that resource who's running that ventilator to somebody who's got survivability. But that's gone to court and deemed that is against practice because you are willfully taking away somebody's ability to live. Like, you're taking away the only thing keeping them alive, knowing that they're going to die without a solution. And people were getting like sued, and that is a bad thing.
I can understand
but
that.
There's there's apparently no rules and requirements surrounding in an emergency who you have to like intubate. You can do triage and just not intubate somebody, but you can't extubate them when you've determined, like, if it's going to kill them. You can't just extubate them and let them die. That is where the problem comes. So I guess one of the things that they do is they said it's very important to like make sure you triage appropriately and put resources where you need to appropriately during those scenarios, because you don't want to waste resources on people who aren't going to live, essentially. But then the problem is you have all these paramedics who are running around in the field who are taking care of a patient and bringing in a patient that they've intubated in the field that you now are required to take care of in an intubated state. Right. So I guess New York, again, has this special chapter where what they'll do is, because paramedics run off of physician standing orders. So what they do is, apparently in certain scenarios, they will just revoke all standing orders for paramedics so that they can't do things like that in the field. And it's so morbid, but so needed.
Right.
To be on that. It's just such I walked out of this like session very like curious on the implementation of this, because they talked about it. I don't think they've ever implemented. Can you imagine the day that
also they've never had to like revoke a license?
As far as I understand, and they would just revoke. No, the hospital licenses they apparently have revoked.
Oh, that is the thing they've done.
Forced evacuations, that has happened, but the removing paramedic standing orders to not be able to perform those items in the field so that you're not burdening the hospital, they have not had to do, as far as I understand from what he said.
I gotcha.
But
that's still crazy. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the country's in a state where all that stuff's going on. Like, I feel like half this stuff is going to go by the wayside. Like, do this and that, and then like the operating procedure is not going to be held up no matter what.
Probably, and I will tell you, as you know, my hospital has been hit by a ransomware attack, in the past, and at one point, I know that we were not being HIPAA compliant with certain records and stuff that we were trying to get in and out to make sure we could take care of patients. People were setting up like MiFis just to get certain data that they needed on patients, like through the normal internet, no secure channels or anything. Just set up what they had to do to get the information that they needed to still take care of some of these patients. And I mean, we disclosed that, and we still got payments for stuff because it was extenuating circumstances that you needed this information to still continue to take care of people appropriately. So it's just, I don't know, such a weird different side of.
I had a weird thing happen, HIPAA related, the other day. My daughter had a physical scheduled, and I was just getting back in town. I was coming back to like get my suit for the funeral and to pick her up to bring her down to South Carolina for the funeral. But she had a physical, and so Crystal's husband was going to take her to the thing, and he has taken her to this doctor multiple times for other things. Like whenever she had a doctor's appointment, he's taken her, and it's never been a thing. And then he texted me. I was on the way over there. I was going to meet him over there anyway. That's where I was going to pick her up from to take her back to South Carolina. And he's like, they won't admit her because I'm not on her HIPAA release form. And I'm like, but haven't you brought her there like 5 times by now? And he's like, yep, I don't get it. And so they wouldn't do anything until I got there. So like, I guess every other time she's gone, they just ignored the HIPAA laws. Like,
well, I wonder if they just, I'll be honest, nobody's ever made me prove that.
Well, that was the thing. I walked in, they were like, oh, so you're her dad? And I'm like, yep. And that was that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering, if maybe some new astute person was just like, oh, you're her father. And he was like, oh, stepdad or whatever. And it's like, well, let's make sure the paperwork's appropriate here. Because, I've never been asked.
Right?
And it's funny, Julia's clearly never been asked either as the mother, and she has a different last name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I never thought about that. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That was just one of those weird things where it was like, I don't even understand. Like, how many times have you brought her here already? So.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you probably could argue, if you really wanted to, that they have been, HIPAA violations
right
in the past,
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at with you. I was like, technically they were violating HIPAA law, right?
Yeah, I would assume so, unless there's yeah, I mean, has he always gone with Crystal?
No, that's the thing. He's only brought her because Crystal couldn't come. Like the times he's gone, it was because Crystal had something else where she could not be the one to take her.
Was this anything special?
I mean, this was just the annual physical he was bringing her in for. And in the past, it's always been, he was taking her because she was sick or something. But either way, he's been the only one present multiple times whenever she was sick, and brought her to that same, her primary care she's had since she was born.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting because people could get in a lot of trouble. You'd think.
That's what
I'll be honest. Like people talk about HIPAA violations and stuff. Every hospital probably makes a lot of very egregious HIPAA violations, and you might get in trouble for it. If somebody if it gets back to the regulatory agency, but. I've never heard of a hospital getting maybe I haven't researched it enough. I don't know, but I've never heard of a hospital just getting shut down or a doctor's office because of such egregious HIPAA violations at all times.
Right.
I think it's just one of those things that always gets used that there is this right that people should expect, and people get fined for not following that right all the time.
Right. That's kind of what I thought too. That's weird. I just went ahead and added the form so I'd have to worry about it again. But
well, yeah, especially if you want him to be able to
right
stuff. It's sure. It's just weird that it wasn't there before. Yeah, but now it does make me wonder, what proof have they ever gotten that you are the father besides just verbally you saying that,
right? That's the thing. I came in and she ran up and hugged me, and then the woman was like, "Oh, so you're her father?" And I was like, "Yep." And she's like, "All right, well, we can bring her in now." And that was that. And then she gave me the form. She's like, "Well, if you want to update it to add him," and I was like, "Yeah, let me update it." And so she gave me the form to add him to the thing. But yeah, they didn't have any proof that I was anybody other than just me being there and saying, "Yep, it's me."
Yep, it's me. She hugged me.
But literally, he could have called his buddy down the street and he could have showed up.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Hey, buddy, you need to go night night, bud. Jack saying hi.
It's a HIPAA violation.
It's a
bedtime violation.
It's a HIPAA violation, buddy. You gotta go night night, buddy. Here, go back with Grammy, okay?
No. Okay.
Come on, buddy. Daddy's still recording. You can say hi to the people real quick. Say hi.
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 Good said hi.
Dad,
Yeah, but no, buddy. Daddy's not playing. He's doing work. And it's so hard to say.
Right? Trust me, it's work.
Sorry, buddy. You gotta go back with Grammy, okay,
no,
bud?
I said, can you play after you're talking to some people? And you're not giving me much to that.
Tomorrow you can, buddy. Yeah, definitely tomorrow, okay, buddy?
Did he say definitely now?
He did.
Definitely now.
Definitely now. Night, Jack. I love you. Yeah, it's really, honestly, it's hilarious the way his vocabulary has just expanded in even the past 2 months. It's baffling at some of the quote unquote adult things that he says. It's cracks me up every day. I mean, he'll just be like, "Hey, do you want to go do this?" And he'll be like, "No, I don't think so right now. I'd rather stay here." Just the way he says things. You're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's crazy how kids. Yeah, how old is he now?
2.5. I mean, 2 3/4, I guess. It's so hard at this age because you don't talk about it. There's a huge difference between a 2-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and an almost 3-year-old.
Right. I always hate the people that are 72 months or whatever. They're like, all right, now.
Yeah. No. The second they hit 2 years, you don't talk about them but you almost still should until at least 3, but you don't.
Right.
I guess how old is he? He is 40 months.
Yeah, I think
that
so. We'll
would
take
be-
the month thing too far. How do you feel about breastfeeding? At what age do you think?
Fuck, dude, Jesus Christ, you really want to get into this?
Is he still breastfeeding?
No, not for nourishment.
Okay.
But I could definitely still answer questions for you on the subject.
Never mind.
So I honestly think between 18 months and 2 years is when.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm
It
thinking
should
after
be
the
done.
2, they probably should be done. Personally.
Yeah, and it's one of those things because like the American Pediatric. So that's where the problem comes is American Pediatric Society or whatever. Their recommendation is minimum of 2 years because that's what they think is the best for building immunity, blah blah blah, like things like that. A lot of people try to go 6 months to a year and think that they're doing great. And I applaud you, and you think I don't have to breastfeed because I'm not a woman. So anybody who does any length of time, I'm like, great, good for you. It's like it's proven to be better than formula from the gaining of immunity type standpoint. So do it if you can, as long as you can to the guideline. But the problem is the guideline also says you should do it for at least 2 years or more is literally what the guideline is written at.
That's interesting.
And I the problem is I don't have it. There's no information that I could find that showed any increased benefit for over 2 years.
Right.
So, and it is kind of weird when it's no longer your nourishment.
Yeah.
In my mind, it should be. It's something you just gotta like wean off of because you're not doing it for a purpose anymore other than comfort. And
right.
it does get really annoying when there becomes a needed comfort.
Yeah. No, I
and
can understand
it becomes an argument because he wants it for the comfort.
Right.
And no other reason. It's something that I can't offer.
Right. No. That's the next question. How do you feel about the daddy boobs? You know what I'm talking about? The like prosthetic,
like the ones from
when
Meet
you
the
feel-
Fockers.
I haven't seen that movie, but if he wore daddy boobs, then yes.
Yeah, where he had him like
It has like a milk sack in it and stuff, and you put like the
Yeah,
breast
and it
milk
was-
in it.
and that one they even went farther. They had it molded off of the mother's breast.
Oh my
so it
God.
wouldn't do nipple confusion. It was a movie though. It was doing it to be like funny as well as make fun of people who are overly protective helicopter parent / grandparent, type of situation. But yeah, I guess there is a such thing as nipple confusion people talk about with some babies, like especially even going to a bottle too soon. Like even breast milk in a bottle can sometimes make certain babies not be wanting to get on the boob anymore because they get like confused.
Really?
I've heard of the term nipple confusion exists.
Well, I heard like
but
certain types of like bottle tops are like make the baby get fatter and stuff because they consume more and stuff. I don't know.
Because bottles usually let things flow easier than a boob.
Right.
Boobs you have to work at. Bottles are like gimme.
Right.
Oh, you pulled a Brian? Wait, why did you dig this trench?
I didn't dig a trench. I didn't do it.
Was this just a
There's some gaps in the wall and stuff. Is that what you mean?
That is. I'm trying to dig these things down so we can get the lava poured.
Gotcha.
I definitely hit a gap. I thought you were digging around down here, but I think it's just one of those caves that we had come into.
Parts, yeah.
So I mean, if I was struggling, like if my baby would not drink from a bottle for me, and just was crying and upset because clearly was hungry, needed to be soothed, and just refused to take a bottle, and like Julia was like working like the reason she couldn't be breastfeeding, and I had a nipple that worked, I would not be against it.
You're not talking about your own milk. You're talking about the little.
Yeah, the whole set. Yeah, I didn't know.
Right.
If I started lactating for some reason, I'd be a little concerned.
Right. Yeah. No. I. Yeah. probably some kind of pus, anyways.
Yeah,
It's not
it
even
wouldn't
milk.
it wouldn't be my first choice to go with the
prosthetic.
artificial nipple or
Prosthesis.
whatever. But yeah, I would do it if it was the only thing that would work.
Because I guess some fathers fear that they're not getting the same connection because they don't get to feed
Oh fuck!
the
I
child.
don't give a shit about the connection like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's taking it too far. I think that's I feel like there'll be other opportunities for connection in my child's life. I don't have to get a fake breasts to feed the baby.
Yeah, and I mean, you gotta accept as a father that until the kid's like walking and talking and playing and roughhousing and things like that, you are secondary in that kid's life. Mom is number one at the beginning. There is no like question about that. For breastfeeding,
Right.
I guess it might be different if you're bottle fed because the dad can partake in that just as much.
Right.
But when dealing with breastfeeding, yeah, they definitely have a stronger bond and connection during the growing up process than I have. But now Jack, you heard him. He came in here like he loves us both. He's still got a very strong connection with his mom, but we are way closer now than we were when he was a baby, and it was just because I help put him to bed at night. I can sleep with him in his room when he gets scared. Like, well, he goes in his own room now, and he'll wake up in the middle of the night and come into our room. And what I do instead of getting him back into our bed, I'm just like, hey, let me go into your room with you, and I'll sleep with you for the rest of the night. So we're weaning him to be all night, which is way better than where we were at. I wish we had done sleep training a long fucking time ago. But
are you doing anything different with the new child?
No, nope.
You say, I wish we had done this differently, but then you're not.
Yeah. I still wish we had done things differently. Probably someone doesn't want to do things differently.
That's funny.
If you get what I'm saying.
Well,
and if you're listening, Julia.
That's funny.
I mean, that's a thing for anybody who's going to be a parent out there anytime soon, and you're wondering like what the hell to do. Yeah, just accept the fact that you're not going to see eye to eye on all the parenting decisions, and somebody, most likely the woman, is going to win in those, and it might make you mad, and it might make you frustrated, but the important thing is raising a healthy child.
That's the hard part, though, is what does that mean? And sometimes that's where you don't agree,
Yeah, true. And I also feel it for the length of time that because we didn't have Jack out of room / bed until Jamie was born.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when you finally set up like the guest room
from the hospital and had to start trying to get him to sleep in a different room, which was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I do not suggest anybody do that. But the problem is, like I said, again, it's those things that I wasn't the person that was making the decision. Despite how much I wanted to make the decision and argued about my own point, I didn't win those arguments.
God.
And it's not like it's one of those things that it's hard.
Yeah.
I didn't like what do you call it? Back down. But I still didn't win, and then there's nothing I could have done. I can't do anything about it.
I guess that was one good thing about Crystal being such a hypochondriac. She was scared to death that if the daughter was ever in the bed, that we'd roll over and kill her, basically. So
which is a huge thing. Granted, once they get to a certain age, it's way less likely because it's just like back to sleep thing. Babies should be sleeping on their back. Absolutely true. However, there is an age where they get to, so like Jamie, the second you have
once you can pick yourself up, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah, once they can push themselves up, the whole back to sleep thing's out the window. They don't need to be on their back anymore. He can sleep on his stomach. He can do whatever he wants. He ain't gonna let himself suffocate because he can actually move and get out of that compromising position.
Right.
And granted, yeah, we could still roll over on him, but he's kind of a beast, though. He'd probably like push you right on and off. Our pediatrician actually always suggested, knowing that many people sleep with their baby in their bed and all, he was just a big advocate on if you've been drinking, avoid it as much as possible because
that makes sense because you're not.
Because that's what people are.
Yeah.
Right. They're way more out of it. And less likely to wake up, and that's where he's seen or heard of more problems. I don't know if he's actually ever
Right.
seen a real problem.
What I used to do is like, because I would still have my same work schedule. And so whenever, because Crystal went back to work for a period of time before she quit working altogether. And so I was the only one like taking care of our daughter in the mornings until she got off work each day. And what I would always do is she'd sleep until like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And once she got up, I would feed her and change her, whatever was necessary, and then I'd bring her into our bedroom at that point and let her sleep with me because she ended up going back to sleep after she ate normally, and so I would sleep with her then from that point. So there was a little bit of like her sleeping in the bed, and Chris always pitched a fit about that, but I just ignored it. I was like, whatever, it's only like 2 hours a day, it's fine. But luckily she didn't want that once she got. Though I guess I say that, but then on the weekends she does want to sleep in my bed. But I think it's just because I got a TV. She wants to watch TV.
but we're right, and that's different. Like sleeping in it, and I sleep in Jack's bed a lot of nights. At some point in the evening, I go into his room with him because he gets up and comes into ours. It's just getting later and later and later. Like for a while, it was 3 o'clock in the morning is when he'd come in. So I just go spend the last couple hours like in his bed. But I'm in his bed. He sleeps in a queen size bed.
Right.
We went from crib to toddler bed extremely early. He was like probably year he was in a toddler bed. I know people who have kids that are Jack's age that are still in cribs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
They don't jump out of it and shit?
No, they know not to, but they still sleep in cribs, and I don't know why they want that. And so we went from the toddler bed, and then the guest room that we have, we just regular bed in there because if we want to sleep with you, no reason to put you in a toddler bed because then if I have to come in and sleep with you because you're scared,
right.
I'm just crunched up on a small freaking bed. I don't want that.
Well, my daughter's crib was one of those like 3-in-1 ones where it went from crib to toddler bed to full size bed. Well, full size frame. I guess you had to get a mattress, but I thought a lot of them are like that now, where like your crib ends up being like your bed for until adulthood, I guess, or whatever.
We got a crib for free off of, they call it the moth list around here. It's like the moms on the on Capitol Hill. So we got it for free because somebody didn't have their baby anymore and wanted to go to somebody else who needed it. So we got this thing without instructions, and it was mainly still already put together. Where the screws were already in all their screw holes and stuff. So all we did was put the thing together. And we knew that it has this piece that's supposed to be the way to turn it into the toddler bed, but we could never figure out how it worked. And then we got one from my parents anyway, like the race car bed. They were like really excited to give us the cute little race car bed.
Yeah.
So we used that instead. Put the crib in our storage unit and then had to get it back out when Jamie was born and going to the crib out of a bassinet.
Yeah.
Realized I hadn't attached all the screws. I usually put them in a Ziploc bag and tape it to like an item and store it somewhere. The bag got missing somewhere. So I was like, I don't even know how to, what the hell is shooting me? There it is. I don't even know how to, put this thing together, let alone put the daybed part of it. So finally is when I decided to look up a manual on it to get the screw sizes, because then I went to Ace Hardware and got all the screws I needed to put the thing back together. And I was like, oh, we had one point when we had this crib before, we put 2 crib mattresses at the bottom of it because it was too deep for Julia to put the kids in when they were way too young to be crawling out.
Yeah.
Turns out it's got like specific holes and lowering mechanisms on it, like not lowering mechanisms, but different screw holes that you put the base of the crib into so you can have it at different heights.
Oh.
For this. Never knew about that until I read the manual. This is on the second kid that's using it.
Right.
Now I know how the daybed piece is supposed to go together to turn it into a toddler
When you were
bed.
saying that, I was wondering why you didn't just like get a manual, but
I just didn't feel like it. I don't need to stop for directions. I'm a man.
Oh God. Man, the whole I'm a man thing. I've been arguing with people a lot about that recently. When I was at my mom's house, when I got there, they didn't have any food, and like she was coming home from the hospital and everything, and there was no food. There was a lot of family there, so I went to the store and got food. And plus, like whenever she left the hospital, she was still like coherent and stuff. She had a stroke, but she could still talk. It was just like out of the side of her mouth, you know. So like I had asked her, I was like, you know, why don't we have Thanksgiving at the house since everyone's all going to be over there and everything? And she was like, yeah, you know, that sounds good. And so I'd gone to the store and I got all the stuff for Thanksgiving. I got stuff for meals for like every day because like didn't know exactly. The doctors had given her like, you know, a month to, you know, 2 weeks to 2 months basically. They didn't really know what was going to happen.
Right.
And so anyways, I got all this damn food, and like I ended up getting pissed off by the end. In fact, after she died, her husband said something to me like, "Well, it was nice having a woman in the kitchen for a few days there," or something like that. Like I don't know, like everyone acted like it's such a big deal for a man to be cooking. I got so pissed off.
You were the woman. You were the woman in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, that man's a fucking asshole. Like don't even get me started on him. But
but Gordon Ramsay.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I guess since I don't know, this guy's like a hardcore Trump supporter. Not that makes him the asshole that he is, but like for some reason that
But
like
it doesn't hurt.
no, yeah, it adds to it. So yeah. Anyways, it just really pissed me off about that. And then yesterday, I was up at my grandma's house, and she was missing something from whenever I cleaned out her house while she, you know, after she broke her leg. I told you about all the cleaning adventures I had in her house, and she's looking for something, and I was like, well, I don't remember seeing that. And she's like, you must have had someone else in here, and I'm like, nope, it was just me. You know, I don't know anyone else. And she's like, ain't no way you decorated because I decorated all the little knickknacks and shit. Because she was kind of everything was just a big clutter mess. So anyway, she's like, there ain't no way no man could decorate this like you did. Yeah, there was some woman that was in here, and I'm like, but there wasn't. So anyways, I don't know. Just you just reminded me of all that. Whatever you said about the stopping for directions, like I don't know, pisses me off.
It's kind of I didn't realize that there was like subset of people who really thought that being in the kitchen was truly women's work, because I thought like, you know, chefs are notoriously like, it's one of those fields that women are still like trying to make their way in. They feel like
it's kind of weird, really, whenever you got that whole stigma of like, you know, get in the kitchen or whatever. But then you're right, like, you know, the majority of when you think about chefs, like really a man is what comes to mind foremost. I mean, I know that there are women in that industry, but you're right. Yeah, it's weird.
It's just kind of weird. Yeah, very strange.
But apparently we also can't decorate a living room or a kitchen or anything like that. So
I mean, I agree with that. You're just crazy. You must be a woman if you were decorating some living room, because that's woman's work. Men can't do that. It just doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's funny. But anyways, we are out of time, so I hope everyone's enjoyed. And if you've missed episodes and you want to see what happened, go to Jeff's channel, because like I said, I'm not uploading any of that stuff. It's gone. It's the past. It's gone.
And if you want to see the dig happen just really fast, just put the video in 2 speeds and turn off the volume, and then you'll have a perspective of what Coot did.
Wow. Hey, there's a hole here in the sand pit. Oh, it's filled with bunnies. There's a bunny trap here.
There's a bunny trap?
I guess so. It's just got lots of bunnies in it, and I guess they just hopped in there, and that's where they've been stuck.
Is it Easter?
Maybe it is Easter. Easter in the desert.
Easter in the desert. I mean, deserts need Easter too.
Yeah, that's right. It's Easter in the desert, everybody. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.